Your tires may be the only thing between your vehicle and the road, but it's the air in those tires that holds you up and helps to keep those bumps in the road from shaking you up. Together with the air inside them, your tires are a vital part of your vehicle's suspension system. Even though lots of technology goes into designing a tire so that it can effectively transmit steering, braking, and drive forces to the road, and road feel to the driver, it is the invisible air inside the tire that supports the load and helps absorb the shocks. The tire is really a container for that air. That's why modern tires, which actually were invented over a century ago, are called pneumatic tires, from the ancient Greek word for air. Pneumatic tires work so well that they've largely replaced solid wood, solid iron, or solid rubber. And air has the advantage of being very easy to adjust to compensate for differing loads. Best of all, it's practically free. Nowadays, engineers can even calculate the amount of air they need in a given tire for a given load. Let's take a closer look at what's happening inside your tires. When there's no load on the tire, as when the vehicle is up on a jack, the air pressure gives the tire its distinctive unloaded shape. As we let the jack down, the load changes the shape of the tire. The more load, the more the shape will change. We also notice two other things. First, the shape of the upper part of the tire, the unloaded portion, did not change very much. And while the shape of the lower portion changed, the total volume of air did not change. Because the volume didn't change, the pressure inside the tire didn't change. When you come down off the jack, the pressure in your tires is the same as it was before. What changes is the shape of the tire between the axle and the road, the loaded portion. As the tire turns, each part of it is constantly changing between the unloaded shape and the loaded shape and back again. At 55 miles per hour, this is happening about 450 times a minute for truck tires and up to 800 times a minute for passenger car tires. That's a lot of flexing, and a great deal of tire design involves keeping that flex in the right area of the tire and in the right amount. The amount of air inside the tire determines the amount of flex. More air, less flex. Less air, more flex. As we force more and more air into the tire, the pressure goes up, and with it, the stiffness of the tire. Flex goes down. Too little air pressure, and the flex will be too great. Large tire shape changes can cause fast wear, cord fatigue, and even cord breakage. Every move a tire makes is the result of fuel being burned. Large amounts of sidewall flexing create excessive heat. This wastes fuel energy as heat rather than as forward motion and can shorten overall tire life through heat damage. And a tire with too little pressure has a soft, sloppy road feel, along with a tendency to skid in turns. It's a tire that won't last, that wastes fuel, and can be unsafe. On the other hand, too much air pressure reduces a tire's shock-absorbing characteristics. The tire is hard, provides a rough ride, and is more vulnerable to shock damage and cutting. And improper inflation will change both the tire's footprint and the pressure per square inch that the tire puts on the road surface. Both can have a negative effect on traction and control. So we don't want too little or too much pressure in our tires. Fortunately, the tire and vehicle manufacturers work together to provide recommendations for the right pressure for different loads and operating conditions. Just look for a label like this one on your car or truck. And the maximum usable pressure for a specified maximum load is marked right on the tires themselves. By maintaining proper tire pressure, we can extend tire life and have a comfortable ride with the kind of positive control today's tires are designed to provide. Plus, the Tire Safety Council and the Car Care Council estimate that if we all kept our tires at the proper inflation, we could save over 4 million gallons of gasoline every single day. That works out to nearly $1.5 billion per year in gasoline costs alone. Big money in anybody's book. But proper tire pressures have to be maintained. Over time, tires can lose air. In the course of a month, a passenger car tire in top condition can lose up to 1 pound of pressure, and a truck tire can lose 2 pounds per month or more. How is this air getting out? Small quantities of air can leak out between the bead and the wheel, especially if the wheel is corroded or dirty. A valve core, which is being held partially open by dirt or ice, can also produce a leak. Good quality valve caps are a necessity. They're the primary seal against leaks, and they keep leak-causing dirt and water out of the valve mechanism. Valve stems, too, can crack and deteriorate over time, causing leaks, so they should be replaced every time a tire is mounted. But the main cause of these small air losses is from air permeating the rubber of the tire and escaping. Even though the tire looks solid, tiny molecules of air can pass right through it, causing a loss of pressure. Every week, check tire pressures with a good gauge. Trying to judge air pressure using old-fashioned methods like looking at the tire or thumping it just doesn't work. And since recommended pressures are always cold pressures, the best time to check is in the morning and when you've driven less than a mile. The heat generated in that short distance causes the air inside your tires to increase in pressure so that your readings will be too high. On an extended trip in hot weather, your pressures can rise by 15 to 20%. Eventually, the temperature and pressure inside your tires stabilize, but once you stop, it can take 3 to 4 hours for a hot tire to cool down again. A hot tire may appear to have too much pressure, but if you let out the excess, you can end up with a tire that's dangerously underinflated when it cools down again. So never bleed pressure from a hot tire. Check the cold inflation pressures on your car and on your truck every week. On duals, be sure to check both tires, not just the outer one. At the same time, inspect your tires for damage and wear. This is especially important before you go on a long trip or vacation with a loaded car. And while you're at it, be sure to check the pressure in your spare. If you ever need to use it, you'll be glad you did. With temporary spares, note that the recommended pressure is very different from what you use on your full-size tires. Always put your gauge or air nozzle straight on the valve stem and press firmly. If your gauge seems to read low, or if you hear air hissing out, try pressing harder. When you're doing it right, checking and filling your tires should be a pretty quiet procedure. By performing this simple maintenance every week, you'll be able to detect small leaks before they become big problems. Air is very cheap by comparison to the cost of tires or downtime. With the right pressure, you'll save fuel, optimize traction and handling, and make your tires last longer. Support your tires by maintaining the right air pressure, and that air will support you with a long, comfortable, safe, and economical ride.